modern Western occultism, as we find it now, the 5 points of the pentagram each kind of represent one of the elements. And you have the denser elements on the four, on a regular non-inverted pentagram with the 1 point up. The four lower ones typically represent the physical plane. And the fifth one represents something beyond that, or something extra. Spirit is what it's usually referred to as, but I like to use the term quintessence because of the meaning it has in alchemy, and it doesn't mean non-physical. Quintessence has a physical presence as well. It's just, it's like that. You've broken down Earth into its three component elements: water, fire, and air, and then you purified each of those three components and put them back together to create a new Earth. Not a Earth is a fourth element because it's created from those three principles. But you break down Earth back into its prima materia, and then when you reunite those components without, like, in their pure state or in a harmonious state, you get the quintessence, the fifth element. And it's like a new Earth, and it does have a physical presence, but it doesn't have all the same limitations that the internally conflicted Earth has. It's just able to transcend a lot of those things. And to have that as the top thing, kind of, in a lot of interpretations, people say, oh, well, that's the spirit in its proper place in governing the physical plane. And one of the original ideas of what the inverted pentagram meant was to turn that upside down and just say, carnality, hedonism, that's the way to go, put the physical plane first, and spiritual stuff, just bury it. Just put it down there, and don't worry about it, just indulge and be hedonistic. Indulge your carnality. And I think that's one of the things that Anton LaVey meant when he used it as part of his symbol for Satanism. But it can also mean the incarnation of spirit, or the action of spirit within the world that we think of as normal, physical, everyday, mundane world, the action of that quintessence, that transforming action that it can have on the world, within, like, acting in the world and not abandoning it. So that's another way to look at it too. You can see it as a fallen angel, Lucifer falling from heaven to be incarnated in matter, to participate in the world, rather than being some far off, unrelatable, non-physical concept. And it also, to have that spirit up here, can lead some people to feel that non-physical things are more important than physical things, and can lead people into escapist type philosophies and practices, where that leads people to try and escape back into the womb, or return to Eden type ideologies, and to escape the suffering of existence through attaining nirvana, things like that. But to have that within the physical is to say, yeah, this life is important. This is what's vital, what we have right now. Because after we're dead and we're not participating in the physical, we don't even know if there's anything there for us. We might just be turned off like a light switch. Who knows? What we know is that this is the arena of action. And there's even people who say that they can communicate with the dead or non-incarnate spirits, and they always tend to say that the spirits enjoy physicality. They want to interact, and this is where it's all happening. You know, they want a physical body. They want to possess you so they can act in the world. You know, this is where it's at. You shouldn't waste it. So that's another meaning for the inverted pentagram. But like I said, we could have a full lecture on that.
Last.
Good word.
Yeah,
Good
sure.
word.
One more?
Last. How come there's no middle path, or is there one?
Because it's kind of unfortunate that the popular terms imply a dichotomy so strongly that they're polar opposites or whatever. Really, it's almost the same thing. It's just done with a different intention and with a different end goal in mind. But a lot of time, like if you think of it you could do the left-hand path and become fully individuated, and then annihilate your ego and absorb yourself if you get bored at some point in eternity. So it's not mutually exclusive, but middle path would imply that you don't really have. I don't know. It's because it's more about the goal that you're trying to achieve, and if you're trying to achieve, you know, godhood or personal divinity, then doing practices that the right-hand path does in order to achieve their goal of annihilation of the individuality through absorption into full harmony with unity, you're working at two different things that aren't gonna, like, if you're working at both of those goals at the same time, you're not really gonna get anywhere. It's like, if you're trying to achieve collectivism and individuality, it doesn't really work at the same way. You have to either work toward individuation, or you have to work at dissolving yourself into unity and full harmony with everything else around you. Because if you're individuating, you're not going to be integrating into harmony. You're going to be pushing and shoving things and moving them around and trying to make change in the world according to your will, to mold the world according to the way that you feel that it should be, and to try and seek to exert that influence, to become that influence in the world. Whereas it's just, you can't work at both of those things at the same time, really. But you can do similar techniques that will help you with either. So like you can build up certain toolkits, magical toolkits, people call them, like the ability to get into a state of mindless, or not mindless, like thoughtlessness, like the meditative state of quiet mind, you know. That's a state that you can practice and train to be able to enter and to exit at will. And it can be used for right-hand path or left-hand path purposes. So there's practices you can do. If you're not sure, you can just do these practices and gain these abilities, but then what you do with them, how you use these skills, is dependent on what you're trying to accomplish. And I think ultimately you can drive around like the city, and cruise, you know, but ultimately if you pick a destination, you have to pick one destination and not two. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, you have to tell my GPS because I have a detour.